In 2005, archaeologist Semir Osmanagic made a startling discovery in Visoko, Bosnia and Herzegovina, a large hill with 4 clear triangular sides, even grade slopes, obvious corners, and an apex, all the hallmarks of a pyramid. Further investigation revealed that this structure, along with 5 others in the valley, appeared to be artificially created and engineered by ancient peoples, hidden by vegetation over thousands of years. What's more, 2 of these pyramids, the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Sun, are larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, with the Pyramid of the Sun measuring as the largest pyramid in the world. Dating of fossils taken from the structure revealed that the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is approximately 35,000 years old, far predating our current understanding of civilization. Despite resistance and skepticism from mainstream academics, Osmanagic persevered in his research, engaging volunteers from around the world in the excavation and study of these ancient structures. The Bosnian pyramids exhibit numerous characteristics that suggest they are not natural formations, but rather deliberately engineered structures, including precise geometry, alignment with the cardinal points, artificial building materials, inner chambers, extensive tunnel networks, and the presence of running water. Moreover, the pyramids exhibit intriguing mathematical relationships and sacred geometry, such as equilateral triangles and the incorporation of irrational numbers like pi in their design. Astronomical features, such as the perfect eclipse of the Pyramid of the Moon by the shadow of the Pyramid of the Sun on the summer solstice, further suggest that these structures were carefully planned and constructed. The Bosnian pyramids also exhibit remarkable energy properties, with electromagnetic fields measuring 60 times stronger at the apex of the Pyramid of the Sun than anywhere else on Earth, and the consistent presence of the Schumann resonance frequency of 7.83 Hz within the structures and tunnels. These energy phenomena have been associated with various beneficial effects, including improved molecular structure of water and food, unexplained healings among excavation volunteers, and enhanced emotional and physiological well-being. The discovery of the Bosnian pyramids challenges our current understanding of human history and the capabilities of ancient civilizations, suggesting that highly intelligent cultures may have existed in the distant past, engineering these monumental structures for purposes that we have yet to fully comprehend. The Earth is spinning faster than it used to, which may require world timekeepers to subtract a second from our clocks for the first time in history, a situation known as a negative leap second. This unprecedented event, likely to occur around 2029, is not expected to lead to any catastrophic consequences, but is a notable indication of the unusual times we are living in. The Earth's increased rotational speed is attributed to the unpredictable behavior of its hot liquid core, which acts like a large ball of molten fluid with varying eddies and flows. Interestingly, the melting ice at both of Earth's poles has been counteracting this burst of speed, delaying the need for the negative leap second by about 3 years. Without the effect of melting ice, the Earth would have required the negative leap second in 2026 instead of the currently projected year of 2029. While the change in the Earth's rotation is not enormous, it is still a significant development that highlights the complex and dynamic nature of our planet's behavior. As we continue to observe and study these changes, it becomes increasingly clear that we are living in a time of notable geological and environmental shifts, which may have far-reaching implications for our understanding of the Earth and our place upon it. On August 15, 1977, the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University detected a strong narrowband radio signal that appeared to come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, bearing the expected hallmarks of extraterrestrial origin. The signal, which lasted for the full 72-second window during which the telescope could observe it, was so remarkable that astronomer Jerry R. Amon, who discovered the anomaly while reviewing the data, circled the reading on the computer printout and wrote, "Wow," next to it, giving the signal its famous name. The wow signal was measured as a signal 30 times stronger than the background noise, and was observed at a frequency of 1420 MHz, which is significant because it is the natural emission frequency of hydrogen, the most common element in the universe and one that scientists believe could be used by extraterrestrial civilizations to communicate. Despite numerous attempts to detect the signal again, including a dedicated search by Eamon himself, the WOW signal has never been observed since its initial detection. Several hypotheses have been proposed to explain the origin of the signal, including natural sources such as interstellar scintillation, as well as the possibility of it being an artificial signal from an extraterrestrial intelligence. However, the exact nature and source of the WOW signal remains a mystery, as none of the hypotheses put forward have been able to adequately explain all aspects of the signal's characteristics. The uncertainty surrounding the signal's origin has led to it becoming one of the most famous and enduring mysteries in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. In 2012, on the 35th anniversary of the WOW signal's detection, the Arecibo Observatory beamed a digital stream of messages towards the stars in the signal's direction, including a series of tweets collected by the National Geographic Channel, in the hope of potentially communicating with any extraterrestrial civilization that might have sent the original signal. Despite the lack of a definitive explanation, the WOW signal remains a tantalizing piece of evidence in the ongoing search for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. Xenobots, named after the African clawed frog, Xenopus laevis, are tiny synthetic lifeforms designed by computers to perform specific functions and built by combining different biological tissues. These microscopic entities, measuring less than 1 millimeter wide, are composed of just two types of cells derived from frog stem cells: skin cells for rigid support and heart muscle cells that act as small motors to propel the Xenobot forward. The shape and distribution of these cells within the Xenobot's body are automatically designed using an evolutionary algorithm in computer simulations to optimize their performance for a given task, such as walking, swimming, pushing pellets, carrying payloads, or working together in swarms to aggregate debris. Xenobots can survive for weeks without food, heal themselves after lacerations, and even self-replicate by gathering loose cells in their environment to form new Xenobots with the same capabilities. While primarily used as a scientific tool to understand cell cooperation during morphogenesis, Xenobots have potential future applications in environmental remediation, such as aggregating microplastics in the ocean, and in targeted drug delivery, where they could be made from a patient's own cells to minimize immune response challenges. As Xenobots are made entirely of frog cells, they are biodegradable and environmentally friendly, requiring no external energy input during their life cycle and simply turning into dead skin cells after about a week. With further advancements in bioengineering and the incorporation of additional cell types, Xenobots could potentially be used for a variety of medical applications, such as scraping plaque from arteries or locating and treating diseases in the body. The development of Xenobots represents a fascinating intersection of robotics, synthetic biology, and computer science, offering a glimpse into the future of programmable living machines that could revolutionize fields ranging from environmental conservation to healthcare. However, the classification of Xenobots as either robots, organisms, or something else entirely remains a topic of debate among scientists, highlighting the unique and unprecedented nature of these synthetic life forms. The Xseed 4000 was an astonishingly ambitious concept for a megatall skyscraper designed by the Taisei Corporation in 1995 for Tokyo that would have stood an incredible 4 kilometers tall and 6 kilometers wide at its base, with a staggering 800 floors capable of housing up to 1 million inhabitants. This massive structure, composed of over 3 million tons of steel, was envisioned as a futuristic environment that would combine ultra-modern, technological living with interaction with wildlife and nature. Transportation within the Xseed 4000 would likely have been provided by maglev trains, and the design called for the use of solar power to maintain internal environmental conditions, as the immense size of the structure would necessitate active protection of its occupants from internal and external air pressure gradients and weather fluctuations. The proposed site for the structure, located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the most active volcanic region in the world, would have left the Xseed 4000 vulnerable to earthquakes and tsunamis. The building's design featured a sea-based location and a shape inspired by Mount Fuji, which, at 3,776 meters tall, would have been more than 200 meters shorter than the Xseed 4000. Despite its impressive scale and futuristic design, the Xseed 4000 was never intended to be built, but rather served as a concept to showcase the engineering and design capabilities of the Taisei Corporation. Other similarly ambitious projects, such as the Shimizu Megacity Pyramid in Tokyo, the Ultima Tower in San Francisco, the Dubai City Tower, and the Bionic Tower in Hong Kong or Shanghai, all face similar challenges in terms of feasibility, environmental impact, and the sheer scale of engineering required to bring such massive structures to life. The year 2038 problem, also known as Y2038, or the apocalypse, is a time computing issue that may cause some computer systems to be unable to represent times after a specific time on January 19, 2038. This problem arises in systems that measure Unix time, which is the number of seconds elapsed since the Unix epoch of January 1, 1970, and store it as a signed 32-bit integer. Due to the limitations of this data type, the latest time that can be properly encoded is a short time after the epoch, which corresponds to the critical date and time in 2038. When systems attempt to increment beyond this maximum value, an integer overflow occurs, causing the time to be interpreted as a negative number, effectively rolling the date back to December 13, 1901. Computer systems that rely on accurate time for critical computations may encounter fatal errors if the year 2038 problem is not addressed, with the most vulnerable being legacy and embedded systems that are infrequently or never updated. Embedded systems used in transportation, communications devices, and other long-lasting equipment are particularly at risk, as it may be impractical or impossible to upgrade their software. Early manifestations of the problem have already been observed, such as the crash of the AOL server software in 2006 due to a configuration file setting a timeout date beyond the 2038 cutoff. Solutions to the year 2038 problem vary, as there is no universal fix due to potential code compatibility issues arising from changes to the time data type. Many modern systems have been upgraded to use signed 64-bit integers for Unix time, which extends the wraparound date to approximately 292 billion years in the future, effectively mitigating the issue. Other proposals include storing time as milliseconds or microseconds since an epoch in a signed 64-bit integer, providing a minimum range of 300,000 years at microsecond resolution. In 1967, at the height of the Cold War, a U.S. Coast Guard trawler discovered a mysterious floating crate off the coast of Florida, marked as property of the Soviet Union, and addressed to Cuba's Institute of Mineral Resources. When the crate was opened, it was found to contain 7 inflated yellow balloons, each sealed with a black rubber stopper, but filled with nothing more than ordinary air. Despite extensive analysis by scientists, the purpose of these balloons remains unknown to this day, and no official explanation has ever been provided by either the Soviet Union or Cuba. The peculiar incident has become a footnote in the annals of Cold War history, leaving many to speculate about the possible intentions behind the bizarre shipment of yellow balloons. Some have suggested that the balloons may have been part of a scientific experiment or research project, while others believe they could have been used for espionage or even as a decoy to divert attention from other clandestine activities. In a fascinating quirk of human biology, most people cannot tickle themselves, even though they may be highly ticklish when touched by others. This is because the brain is able to distinguish between sensations caused by our own movements and those caused by external stimuli. When we move, the cerebellum predicts the body's movements and sends signals to dampen the activity in the somatosensory cortex, where tactile sensations are processed. As a result, self-administered tickling produces a less intense sensation compared to being tickled by someone else. Scientists have attempted to trick the brain into allowing self-tickling by introducing delays between the movement and the tickling sensation, using magnetic brain stimulation to control movements, and even inducing out-of-body experiences. However, these attempts have had limited success in fooling the brain's ability to differentiate between self-generated and externally generated sensations. Interestingly, people with schizophrenia can sometimes tickle themselves, possibly due to difficulties in identifying the origins of their own movements. This suggests that the inability to self-tickle is closely linked to our sense of self and agency. Researchers believe that understanding the neural processes behind self-tickling could provide insights into mental illnesses and even contribute to the development of more advanced artificial intelligence. The goal would be to create machines that can distinguish between touching and being touched, similar to how the human brain processes these sensations. Zeno of Elea, an ancient Greek philosopher from around 490 to 430 BC, devised a series of paradoxes that challenge our understanding of motion, space, and time. His most famous paradox involves a race between Achilles and a tortoise, where Achilles allows the slower tortoise a head start. Zeno argues that Achilles can never overtake the tortoise, because whenever he reaches the tortoise's previous position, the tortoise will have moved ahead, leaving Achilles still behind. Another paradox, known as the dichotomy, suggests that to travel any distance, one must first travel half that distance, then half of the remaining distance, and so on, resulting in an infinite number of steps that seemingly make motion impossible. The arrow paradox proposes that an arrow in flight is actually motionless, because at any single instant, the arrow is not moving to where it is or where it isn't. These paradoxes have puzzled philosophers and mathematicians for centuries, with various solutions proposed, from Aristotle's early responses to modern mathematical approaches using calculus and the concept of limits. While the paradoxes may seem abstract, they have real-world applications, such as the quantum Zeno effect, where frequent measurements can slow down or even halt the evolution of a quantum system. Zeno's paradoxes continue to inspire discussion and debate, challenging our common-sense notions of reality and highlighting the complex nature of infinity, space, and time. During the hyperinflation period in the Weimar Republic of Germany from 1921 to 1924, a peculiar mental disorder known as zero stroke, or cipher stroke, was allegedly diagnosed by German physicians. This condition was characterized by an obsessive compulsion to write endless rows of zeros, driven by the dizzying speed of hyperinflation and the complex calculations required for everyday transactions. At the peak of the hyperinflation crisis, the German mark fell to such low values that prices for basic goods soared into the billions and trillions, making it nearly impossible to conduct business using the rapidly devaluing currency. The disorder was said to primarily affect individuals who frequently dealt with large numbers, such as cashiers, bookkeepers, and bankers, causing them to become confused when referring to numbers and make absurd claims about their age or the number of children they had. Accounts of the time described afflicted individuals as being perfectly normal, except for their irresistible urge to write endless strings of zeros and engage in complex computations, with some even comparing the difficulty of their calculations to advanced logarithmic problems. While the existence of zero stroke as a genuine mental disorder remains dubious, its emergence as a concept reflects the profound psychological impact of the hyperinflation crisis on the German population during this tumultuous period in history. In a groundbreaking discovery, scientists have captured images of the flash of light that sparks at the precise moment when a human sperm cell meets an egg, marking the beginning of conception. This phenomenon, previously observed in animals, is caused by the sudden release of billions of zinc atoms from the egg upon fertilization, creating a burst of light that lasts for about 2 hours. Using a special fluorescent sensor that tracks the movement of zinc in live cells, researchers found that human eggs contain around 8,000 compartments, each holding about 1 million zinc atoms ready to be released. Interestingly, the intensity of the flash varies between eggs, with brighter flashes indicating a higher likelihood of developing into a healthy embryo. This finding could have significant implications for couples undergoing in vitro fertilization treatments, as currently, there are no reliable tools to assess egg quality before implantation. By observing the brightness of the zinc spark, doctors may be able to determine which eggs have the best chance of resulting in a successful pregnancy, potentially saving couples from heartache and speeding up the process of achieving conception. The research also sheds light on the crucial role of zinc in the early stages of embryonic development, as the egg must first accumulate zinc and then release some of it to successfully mature, be fertilized, and begin forming an embryo. The zoo hypothesis is one proposed explanation for the Fermi paradox, which addresses the apparent absence of extraterrestrial life despite its assumed likelihood. This hypothesis suggests that advanced alien civilizations are aware of Earth and its inhabitants, but choose not to make contact, instead observing us from afar, much like zookeepers watching animals in a zoo. The idea is that these advanced civilizations have a policy of non-interference, allowing less advanced species like humans to develop and evolve on their own, without outside influence. This concept is similar to the Prime Directive, featured in the Star Trek franchise, where Starfleet officers are prohibited from interfering with the natural development of alien societies. The zoo hypothesis assumes that the first intelligent civilizations to arise in the galaxy would have a significant head start on later emerging species, with millions or even billions of years of technological advancement. Proponents of the hypothesis argue that these advanced civilizations might view contact with less developed species as potentially harmful or disruptive, preferring to let them progress at their own pace. Critics of the zoo hypothesis point out that it relies heavily on speculation about the motivations and behavior of hypothetical alien civilizations, and that it is difficult, if not impossible, to test or falsify. Some also argue that the idea of a galaxy-wide agreement among advanced civilizations to avoid contact with less advanced species is unlikely, given the vast distances and timescales involved. Despite its limitations, the zoo hypothesis remains a fascinating thought experiment, prompting us to consider the potential implications of contact with extraterrestrial intelligence and the role that advanced civilizations might play in the evolution of life throughout the cosmos. In January 2018, SpaceX launched a classified United States government satellite known as Zuma on its Falcon 9 rocket, but the fate of the spacecraft remains a mystery. Northrop Grumman, the company that built the satellite for the National Reconnaissance Office, stated that the launch was a monumental responsibility, and had taken great care to ensure the most affordable and lowest risk scenario for Zuma, which reportedly cost around $3.5 billion to develop. However, following the launch, unnamed sources claimed that the satellite was lost during deployment and had re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, with independent investigations concluding that the spacecraft likely failed to separate from its payload adapter. Despite these reports, SpaceX maintained that the Falcon 9 rocket had performed correctly, and Northrop Grumman declined to comment on the status of the classified mission. The secrecy surrounding the mission has led to speculation about its purpose and ultimate fate, with amateur astronomers attempting to locate the satellite in orbit, but instead finding radio transmissions from a different NASA satellite that had been lost in 2005. Officially, the North American Aerospace Defense Command still lists the satellite, but with no orbital parameters, and the orbital status code, no elements available, which is standard procedure for classified missions. The lack of public information from the US government about the potential failure of Zuma has only fueled further curiosity and speculation about this expensive and mysterious spacecraft.